Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is March the 10th, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar, 1441 on the ancient sun calendar, and 2022 on the Greco-Roman calendar, 5782 on the ancient Hebrew calendar. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. This is a sovereign, living, ancient, Article 3, Moorish American, Al-Moroccan, court action. We are the sovereign, living justice, in capitis diminution nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo and in proprio heredes. I am sovereign, living justice, Pauline Denise Ritchie, in capitis diminution nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo and in proprio heredes. Our free sovereign born appellations are also in capitis diminution nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo and in proprio heredes. We and all Moors are the original indigenous, sovereign, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original indigenous, natural, divine, ancient empire state of Morocco and the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government, the universal Moorish American consulate, and the Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court. We are peace, we are one nation, we are one state, we are one empire, and we are one God. We hereby exercise all sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, non pro tunc. The first thing that I want to place on the buffet table is we want to acknowledge our olmec brothers and sisters who actually are our descendants. And we want to show you a little bit of proof as to who they are because, you know, initially when I first woke up, I wondered who was who as well. I knew that we were original and indigenous and that we were the first. But I wanted to know who were the Olmec Moors and all of the other Moors at Earth, you know, where they fell in the, not fell, but where they are in the, you know, in the state of things. And so the Olmec Moors, in our sleep, okay, they had to go into a status that was not a standing status at all. They had to go into citizen status because we thought that we were citizens. And they had to do what they had to follow suit with what we did because everyone has to follow suit with what the Moors do. So, I want to introduce or just kind of show you, some of you are aware of this already, but many are not. And I also want to thank the Moors that I conferenced with today from the different territories, the nobility, Brother El Seti, Noble El Seti, and Noble Mugabe Bey. I appreciate, and all of the other nobles that were on the call earlier today for bringing this piece to our attention because there's something that we can do about it. So with regard to the Olmec Moors, they have been using, in order to traverse and to get back and forth across the borders and things, the corporation issued the Olmec Moors something called the matricula konsular ID. Okay, and here is what it is. The matricula, the matricula konsular diall seguridad is an identification card issued by the and this is in capital G and capital M, government of Mexico, through its consulate offices, and consulate offices is in all lowercase letters, to Mexican nationals residing outside of Mexico. Also known as the Mexican Cid Card, it has been issued since 1871. And we know what happened in 1871, which is where this document came from. In 1871, we know that the United States corporation companies placed corporate documents on the public record stating that instead of them being the republic, that they were going to go into corporate status. And when they went into corporate status, they began claiming all of our descendants and our subjects and everyone as citizens, to include, they were claiming the Moors as citizens, except that we could never be citizens. So we were being treated as citizens starting in 1871. And that was something that once we woke back up, we could fix. And so that is what we've done. So this document was brought to our attention today, and we wanted to just put it before you because matricula konsular, as we know, we are the Moorish American Consular Court and the Moorish American Consulate. And some will say, and we've heard it before, why would, consulates are for when someone is on a foreign land. Well, that applies to everyone except for us. For us, the reason that we are a consulate and that we are a consular court is because all lands belong to us. And we did say that there were those who were not Moors, and I'm not talking about the olmec Moors because they're Moors, but we knew that there was going to be foreign entities on the land. And so with those foreign entities being on the land, that is why we needed consular courts, because no one governs our land but us. And because they were foreign, not us, we're not foreign to our land. This is our land. This is our home. But we did have to make room and place and space to govern the foreign entities that were on our land. That's why we are a consular court, because there is diversity of citizenship and diversity of nationality. And among the citizens, there is diversity of citizenship. Among the Moors, there is diversity of nationality. And according to the treaties, all of the treaties essentially say the same thing, but particularly the Treaty for Peace and Friendship, 1786 and 1836, states that if a Moor and a citizen should have a dispute and there be a trial, that the consul is to decide. Well, that tells us, number one, that Moors are not citizens, because it names them as two separate entities. We are the living beings, and then there are the citizens who are subject to the Moors. That means we're not citizens, and that means citizens are not Moors. So the consul is to decide. Well, there's not going to be a foreign consul deciding what happens on our land, and that's the issue that we have been having prior to our own courts being active on the land, is that foreigners were divvying up or pretending to divvy up the estate, and that's just out of order. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. And so we're ending that. Okay, our courts have ended it. We're beginning to put out court actions with regard to the estate, the land, the structures, and all of that. There is a way to do it and an orderly manner that it should be done according to international law and universal law and natural law that we put in place since time immemorial. So having said that, matricula, as the heirs were discussing this document, I thought matricula is absolutely paying homage to the matriarch. This document says that they have the consent of the mother nation, to go back and forth and to traverse the land and the borders, that they can do that. That is what the document
is everybody
says.
using their delarium to pay for gas these days?
So matricula is a name that is a word that has the matriarch or the mother land and the mother nation at its root. So when I saw this document, I knew that, you know, it just kind of affirmed what we've always known about the Olmec Moors. The Olmec Moors are descendants, and we are the mother nation that they descended from. So they are our descendants, and they are well aware of that. That makes them Moors by bloodline and birthright. If it had said patricula consula, then it would have been from the patriarchy side. So I would like to place on the table for us to aye in favor or nay not in favor, to place, to issue, because see, only we can do it. We want, this is what I'm proposing that we do today, is just having looked at this and knowing what we know about the Olmec Moors, who have been previously called Mexicans and Hispanics and Latinos and this, that, and the third. I wanted us to issue a sovereign ancient Article 3 matricula consular affidavit and writ spoken on the public record today, where we just speak what this document says. And when we speak what this document says, we're stating it. In other words, we're bringing everything back into our state for the Olmec Moors, so that they can have some, so that they won't keep throwing things around talking about borders this and borders that. And they knew we were going to do this, and that's why you have seen the activity at the border, at the quote-unquote, those fictitious imaginary borders, where there have been caravans and caravans and caravans of Olmec Moors coming through. And they're not showing any ID because this is their land too. And they're not being vaccinated coming through because, again, they are coming home to motherland. And that was not ever going to happen until we stood up and said, hold it, this land belongs to the Moors. And so we have all stated that on the public record. And they knew we were, the minute we stood up and leaned them, that's when you started seeing that caravan stuff happening. And so we want to go ahead and make it official and put it on the public record that we are issuing that from our Article 3 court, the matricula consular affidavit and writ in favor of the Olmec Moors for their safe travel on the land. Everyone trusted us to keep them safe. That's our job. And our safety is found in keeping others safe who come onto our land. They come from us. Excuse me.
Keeping people safe? Why are your followers ending up in jail?
They come from us, okay? They know they come from us. And so we know too. And we want to extend protection and safe travel to them. The corporation knew that this was coming. So they just went ahead and prepared. And so we want to go ahead and put that on the public record if you all are in agreement with it. And let me just say that along with us stating the document, we're actually stating it. Stating it means bringing it into our state and issuing it. That they will be able to use Dillarium in the same way that we use Moorish Sovereign Dillarium, because in reality, they're the ones that we're going to be exchanging with, and we're also going to be exchanging with the Venezuelans who come, and the Brazilians who come, and the Guatemalan Moors who come, and the Central American and South American Moors who come, who are coming up through those caravans. They're ready to do what needs to be done here, because they know that this land, we have a lot of work to do here. And we are not going to do that with corporate instruments. We're using our own instruments. So if it is, I would love to take a vote. And all of those in favor of us seeking this matricula, consular, affidavit, and writ in favor of the Olmec Moors, if you would please, all in agreement with this affidavit, state your appellation and territory and state I. And we'll do the I first, and then after that, all in disagreement with this sovereign spoken affidavit being stated on the public record. State your appellation and territory and state nay. Okay? And then we will go from there on just making it, just publishing it and putting it on the public record so that we can speak life to those heirs, because everyone has a place on our land. Everyone does, and they are looking to us to secure that place. And our place becomes more secure when we secure everyone else, because they will go and do what needs to be done where we're concerned. And we will do the same. That's what we're doing now. So that's an even exchange there of sovereign energy. So all in favor of just us putting this affidavit on the public record, state your appellation and your territory and state I. Yes, and you can start 6.
Paula L. Fairfax, Virginia. I.
This is Frank L.
Kamal B. Tri-Cities Territory. I.
Eddie J.B. Illinois Territory.
Hello, Clara L. Mississippi Territory. I.
Eddie J.B. Illinois Territory. I.
Islam, Angel Bay. Go ahead, sister.
Arthur P. Bay, North Carolina Territory. Hi.
Islam, Angel Bay, Swampomac Territory. I.
Gregory, Tariq Bay, North Carolina Territory. I. North Carolina Territory. I.
Justice Cynthia Ann Bay, Califia Territory. Yay.
Justice Ezekiel Bay, Illinois Territories. Aye.
Orlando Bay, Trinidad Territory, Grand Rising. Aye.
Justice Morpheus Pascal Ham, Maryland Territory. Aye. In favor.
Dawood Bilal Ibn Yusuf El Abdullah Bay, Mampomac Territory, Land of Nod. Aye.
Bay, UK Territory. Aye.
Al Columbia, Shillong, Territory, Toronto. Aye.
Justice Almo Salaho Tepe, Northwestern Mexican Territory. Aye.
Musa Jube, Tennessee Territory. Aye.
Justice Frank L. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania Territory. Aye.
Willie Irvin Smith Bay, Mississippi Territory. Aye.
there are some votes in the chat, Justice Morley Bay from the United Kingdom Territory. Is that I, nobility? Yeah, okay, Islam. And then Empress Denise, Brown Bay, New Jersey Territory as well. Is that I as well? And then Justice Messiah Bay, Boston Territory. Yes, is that I, Justice Messiah? Yes, Islam. Justice Ansa Bay, Islam. I am Sovereign Living Justice Light Tajiri Bay, in Capita Simile Shonolo, Invid, in Proprio Persona Futuris, and Proprio Solo, and Proprio Favetas. Washington Territory, I, Islam. And now, if there are any who are in disagreement with this sovereign affidavit and writ going on the public record, please feel free to star 6 and vote nay. Islam. Okay, so we have a unanimous vote in favor of the olmec Moors. So we will state on the public record, we hereby issue this universal sovereign, Article 3, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American, Consular Court, Matricula, Consular Affidavit and Writ in the favor of our olmec heirs for their safe travel on the land. To the olmec Moors, who were previously known as Mexicans and Venezuelans and Brazilians, South Americans, Central Americans, the islands, etc. Feel free. You are heirs as well to Moorish sovereign dollarium that you can autograph in red and all lowercase letters for trade and exchange of all goods and services. You are also rightful heirs and have rightful use of all that we have and all that we are, for we are one. You all are also sovereign fiduciaries on the land as well. So all of the documents that we use, you can use. This sovereign justice stands as law. Excuse me. So, there's another reason also, and there are many reasons why we do these things. They need to be put on the public record. And our descendants have been waiting for these things to be put on the public record. They know they have a right to it, but they cannot access it until we say you can. Another reason for putting these types of things on the public record is the following. So there are other passports and things that were issued by corporations, different citizenship statuses and things like that, and other passports that were put under certain programs under these corporations, and those programs are going away. because those heirs have to get in their rightful status. With those programs going away, it's making it so that those heirs sometimes get caught up in a corporate court system when they already know who they are. They know who they are already. And that's what matricula consular is all about, is we're traversing with the mother nation. And so there are other documents that were issued by the European Union Corporation and the United States Corporation Company. And those documents give, now, but these others that have been issued by these corporations give the modern Europeans, or gave them previously, a lot of the privileges to which we have a right. And when I say privileges to which we have a right, with these documents that they were issuing previously, and again, we're not mad at the European Union, you know, we're not mad at anyone, but we need to put the truth out there, that in the past, the citizens would take these documents and go to other lands, other places, and bring some fiat with them, and they would do what is called, they would get what is called citizenship by investment. And then they would go on these lands, start a business, a corporation, and then incorporate all of the people on the land and capitalize them and enslave them. Because that's how enslavement is done. Enslavement is when corporations who didn't create anyone or anything because they're dead go into these lands, see some resources there, and take the resources, claim the resources. Just one moment, nobility. I'll open the floor in just a moment because I know this is kind of a topic here that we need to make sure that we all understand about how enslavement takes place with our olmec brothers and sisters, even with us. The corporations came here and came to the UK territory and came to the island territory and Canada territory and all that, and chopped it up into political borders. And then they said, okay, we see some gold mines here, so we're just going to incorporate and capitalize these gold mines, and then tell the real heirs that they can't come here unless they're working for us, and then they don't own any of it. And so they would have the heirs sign an employment application, and when you fill out the employment application and you request and beg and plead and pray for employment from them, they would say, okay, we'll give you employment, and we're going to put your check and everything that has to do with you in all capital letters, and we're also going to let the policy enforcers know that we have a contract with you, and if you do anything, we'll call the policy enforcers and they'll come and get you. Hey. That's called capitalism by corporation. And so the Olmec Moors and the Maltese Moors, the Moors from Malta, and all of these other places had to get these documents while we were asleep. And if you look here on the screen, I want you to see just really quickly, I just want to point this out. Unjani means union, and that is actually an African word. That's one of our words, one of our ancient English words, Unyani, and the J is actually pronounced Y, Unyani, like union or Unyani. And this is how they spell Europe. They're saying European Union. So they're actually using ancient English in order to put these documents forth, and putting it in capital letters and gold ink, because they could have very easily put European Union on there, but that's not where the authority comes from. The authority comes from the Moors. Okay? So, and then they put, you know, they'll put symbolism on there that has everything to do with the Moors. If you'll notice, this is the same symbol surrounding this shield here that is the United Nations, and some of the other flags have this on it, and so does one of the seals has this on it. So they've been using our status and all of that to do the things that they do, and we have no one to, you know, we can't really point any fingers at anybody because we were asleep. The gods are in control of everything, even in our sleep, and that's why we can't blame anybody. We can't even blame ourselves because we volunteered for this. So let's, what we're doing now is simply moving on and getting everything in alignment on this landmass so that we can get the things that we need and others can get the things that they need from us. And what they need from us is our court action and language, and for us to ensure that the exchanges and the transactions and the banking and all that we do, the courts and everything, are underwritten by our own resources, because we're the source of all resources. And they're ready for all that they know should be in place because they know the law, just like we do. Are there any questions about any of this? And please do your research more on any of this. The matricula, consular, do your research on that so that if there are any olmec Moors who come and ask about nationality, that we can say, yes, you're descendants of ours. And you're granted the same rights and availabilities and benefits that we are, because they're going to be a huge asset to us, and we are a huge asset to them as well. Okay? And the services that they provide on the land are going to be services that we need, and the services that we're providing mainly, for us, it's mainly our court and our commerce that is going to make it so that everyone else who's on the land can move about freely and unmolested, which is automatically going to free us even more. As we speak these things into existence, they know some things that we have not yet remembered about their status, and they're going to go and put everything in place already, so that by the time we get there saying we're the Moors, they're like, yes, we know. Come on in, get what you need, or come in and fellowship with us, more importantly, because more importantly than anything is the fellowship and the remembering that we are all one. So this is one of the documents that, you know, do some research on what they were told as they received these documents. Because many of our descendants, when they came here, they told them, we know who you are and we know who they are, but you cannot tell them who they are. And in fact, you're going to assume their status. The Pakistanis and Yemenis and the Iranians and the Iraqis who came here, the Lebanese, many of them who are running businesses, real estate, you know, restaurants, etc. They assumed our status in order to do those things. But remember, Moors, they did that to show us how to do it. That's why they did it. And they also wanted to show us that as we are back, now that we're back in our proper status, that we actually do have all authority. But we are much more loving and caring and forgiving and merciful and gracious and noble and honorable with that same, with our own authority.
Islam.
So, Islam. Are there any questions about this that we have done thus far before we move into our next portion of our sharing session?
Islam, Consul, UK territory.
Islam.
What I have seen, what you've shown those two symbols on the passport, that was on the British pound, and it's not there anymore. Mark Christopher done a demonstration telling us that, was telling the public that these symbols are no more on the £5 notes, the £10 notes, and said that these notes are worthless without these symbols.
Say it one more time, Nobility. Say that one more time.
The symbol that you showed around the passport, these symbols was on the British
right here.
pound. That's right.
This one?
Yeah, the symbol on the side of the
yes,
symbol
right here.
was on the British pound, especially the £5.
Yes.
It's no longer on the £5. They've taken it off. So Mark Christopher did a presentation a couple of weeks ago, telling us that the British pound doesn't worth anything anymore because it has nothing back in it. And these symbols is not on it anymore.
Yes. It was on the Federal Reserve debt note at one time too.
Okay, so seeing this and what you just said there, Christopher has done a brilliant job, but he's not giving the full 100. But still, as you said, we love him still for exposing certain things to the public. But these symbols I see them now. It's like my whole, it's a DNA explosion. Knowing what he's talking about is correct, but he's not giving the source of why it's not there. Now that you've shown this, now I know that they cannot use that.
Yes, they can't. Because all of those symbols have to go back to their rightful place too. This is actually a representation of what the eagle is holding in the hand, especially this on the left side of this illustration here, this Maltese passport. The eagle that's on the dollar, not the dollar, but the Federal Reserve debt note, is holding this in one of his claws, and then arrows in the other claw. Yeah. So all of that is symbolic, and those symbols don't really belong to those that was using them. They belong to us.
It's good to know. Islam. I hear.
Islam. And Justice Consul, with regard to the individual that you mentioned, the other day on one of his videos, he said that he's not having anything else to do with his bank. They closed off his ability to do banking.
Okay, thanks. Good to know.
Yeah. He's going to have to declare his nationality.
That's what I've been telling people. Because we as Moors, being that we're studying hard, we can see the discrepancies in whoever is presenting. So try to be a Moor. So studying is very important. So when any fraudulent is taking place, we can see it. And I have noticed that. This is confirmation.
Yeah. He says some good things, He says some good things. But with a lot of the information, there's some colorability there that he may not even think is colorable or know that it's colorable yet, but it will become clear after a while. Yeah.
Study, study, study.
We appreciate his work. We appreciate his work.
Islam.
Islam. Are there any other questions or comments with regard to any of these things that we're seeing here? It does. I'm a little bit emotional about those who have placed their trust in us. The whole earth really did place their trust in us, that we would wake up and do what we're doing. And sometimes it can be a little bit emotional for me because I know that we are doing what they trusted us to do. And sometimes I think about all that they suffered, while we were asleep. And we suffered too, but we can fix all of that. And that's what we're doing, So I want to, speaking of demonstrations and IDs and identification and all of that, I want to bring your attention to, and I'll put the link in the chat. Recently, first we want to send our gratitude and congratulations to the USAR Moorish government. We thank them for all that they are doing, the demonstrations that they're doing, and many of you have seen. We've had a call maybe a few months back with the president of the United States of America Republic Moorish government, who came onto our call just to see Cannon Bay. And we just want to send congratulations to them because they are demonstrating mightily on the land. And from the Moorish National Republic federal government to them, we love you so much, all of you who are doing this great work. I wanted to bring forth one of the demonstrations that was done by one of the governors and the Secretary for State of the USAR government that they placed on the public record, because I want to point some things out to you with regard to capitalism and what we've been saying about how to remedy the things that are going on. So I put the link to the video in its entirety in the chat, and I'll put it under this video on YouTube at the Jure Bay channel. But the thing that I wanted to point out, because see, we have been talking about in capitis diminucio nolo, which means no capital letters, and it's issued by us, the sovereign state, and the sovereign state is the Moors, the Empire State of Morocco. We placed our statehood documents on the public record, and we placed the fiduciary document on the public record saying that we have the authority to speak on the all cap name, because it's a name, but it's a conveyance method also. The in capitis diminucio minima and the in capitis diminucio nolo, that those are our instruments that we can speak to other instruments to get the credits and benefits that we need. And then we don't need them. We're just doing an exercise in getting them so that we can share that information. So the video, and I'll just give you a brief synopsis of what the video is about. They were pulled over, and the Empress in the video was very powerful as well. We want to send our congratulations to her. Her energy was just very powerful, and so they were pulled over by policy enforcers, and some things were said back and forth, and they were demonstrating their sovereign status very powerfully, and the policy enforcers arrested and, well, they said he was being detained. They detained one of the Moors in the video. And so this video is a prime example of what Moors have been saying about how
Islam, you've been cut off, Empress.
Islam people, family. She said she's on hold, put on hold because she's taking care of something.
Islam?
So, my apologies. Can you all hear me?
Islam? Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
My phone keeps the booting and carrying on. So obviously this is something that needs to be pointed out.
Cool.
We have to point this out.
I asked this got this.
Islam.
I assured you.
Okay. So I want to point this out because this is important. We've been talking about in capitis diminutio nolo, in capitis diminutio minima, media, and maxima. And the more in the video, they were pulled over. There was some interaction between them. One of the Moors got arrested. And so I wanted to look at the video to see where it is that they found grounds to arrest. Okay, because one thing I know about all that we're doing is that they cannot arrest us if we don't have any contracts with them and we're speaking the law at all times or not saying anything because our documents are on the public record. That I know for sure. So the brother in the video was just awesome enough to go ahead and show the documents that were put forth stating, he got a copy of the quote-unquote police report and the records and all of that. He got copies of all of that. And he put it on the camera what was being said, what the policy enforcers were claiming. And so I watched it carefully and I looked at the documents and I said, there it is. That is why they took him, but it's a simple fix, okay? So he didn't do anything wrong. It's just there's some more that needs to be done. And we want to point it out because we think it's important simply because of what the law says first and foremost. And secondly, because we know what system they're using to take the Moors. We've tested it ourselves and they couldn't hold us. So when we talk about those capital letters and those contracts, the fiduciary document that we have put on the public record, each of us has put on the public record, it cleanses their ability to take anyone. So this is what he showed. At minute 3:08 in the video, he shows the quote-unquote police record and how the record is noted, okay? So I screenshot what he put there, what he showed. Here's what I'm going to do, because I want us to see this first one first. Okay. So now what the brother was showing is that that here on the screen, they pulled up some information. First, they pulled up, it says person right here at the top, last name Jenkins, and they have it in all lowercase letters. And then it says first name Eric, and we're just grateful that he put this on here so that we could learn from it. Eric is in all lowercase letters. It says wanted no. And then it doesn't have anything else after that in this all lowercase letter situation here. And then person number 2, because they ran 3 of them. They ran 3 reports on one incident, okay? The second one that they ran, the second person that they ran, it says last name Jenkins in all capital letters, and then it says first name Eric in all capital letters, and then they start listing the contracts. And what do they say? It says name, it says DOB, it says sex is male, race black, and then it says here DL number, and it gives the DL number. And now this is something that he put on the public record, so I'm just pulling from what he graciously put on the public record so that we could see. And then it says here DL, state is NJ, and that's in all capital letters. The state is in capitis, the word state is in capitis diminutio minima, which means the first letter capitalized and the rest of the letters lowercase. And then it has an all cap state there. And it's not even a real state, it says NJ. And then it has some other information here, local ID, etc. And that's person number 2, or warrant number 2. And it's not really a warrant because, you know, they're saying that he's not wanted, or this person is not wanted. We're not talking about the Moor, we're talking about the person that they have listed on this paper, which is separate from the Moor. And then they did another one, person number 3, last name Jenkins in all capital letters, first name Eric in all capital letters, and then they have the same information again listed right here as if this is someone different from the second one, and the second one is different from the first one, okay? And so I wanted to point out to you more that this is what we've been saying about the all lowercase letters, is that those contracts are not attached to the all lowercase letters conveyance method. It says it right there. Those are the policy enforcer records. This tells you that they're using capitalism to attach contracts to those conveyance methods. And those conveyance methods, they created them in their state. That's what our fiduciary document is doing. It's taking those conveyance methods out of their hands And first of all, the lien does that. The lien takes those methods out of their hands. And then the fiduciary document says we're in charge of these conveyance methods that have to do with us. Okay? And Morris, the reason I'm pointing this out is, again, those contracts are not associated with the all lowercase name here. They're not. They just pulled all three persons up and listed the contracts that are in the system. And we know that those contracts are United States Corporation Company contracts because they arrested him. And all he really has to do, and again, that's all he has to do, is just terminate all corporate contracts with them and keep doing what he's doing, because he's demonstrating beautifully. Beautiful demonstration. But when we put our sovereign-born appellations in, because Eric Jenkins, in red and all lowercase letters, as issued by the sovereign state, cannot be touched because there are no contracts associated with Eric Jenkins. In capitis diminution nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris. Not even the black one has, they can't even attach anything to the black one in all lowercase letters. Meanwhile, the all cap has two sets here. Two sets of contracts here. Now, are the contracts, did he do anything wrong by having those contracts? No. What he needs to do is state the contracts properly. And anytime we say state something, that means put it in the proper state. Because right now it's not in the proper state. And that's why they did what they did. It's to show that as long as you're claiming United States Corporation Company and you don't terminate all corporate contracts with them, then they can, because that's an unlawful status on the paper. On the paper, it's an unlawful status. Now, again, he's a Moor. He knows he's a Moor. They demonstrated beautifully. We have to tie up these loose ends, though, more so that we won't keep going through that. We have to tie up the loose ends so that we don't keep going through that. Okay? That is absolutely just so important. Yes, Islam Empress.
Empress Aisha. I was doing some reading on my own situation, and I did find where they said, as long as you were drawing any benefit from them, that, like my situation with IRS, they said as long as you were drawing any benefit from them, they had a right to do what they do to you.
That's true, except that they don't own the benefit.
Oh.
No, they do not. You're the creditor.
Okay, so how would I come out from up under it? Is there a way out without doing the lien, although I know we need to do the lien?
You have to do the liens if you want to come out from under the court. Empress, and again, don't do it until you feel comfortable, Don't do it until you feel comfortable, but that's the way out. I had to do it with quote-unquote VA benefits because there was a VA corporation on top of the Republic VA that Abraham Lincoln put in place.
Oh, okay.
And so that corporation needed to be removed with a lien. They needed to be put in debt and decapitated because they're a zombie. They're not even real. And our proper status needed to be put on the public record. And then we speak to the pension system or the VA system that we put in place for the Republic. We're due the benefits because we did the work.
Okay. Well, I just got the lien on my name, you know, but I got to do the court action. But they've already received the paperwork for the lien on the name itself.
Yeah. Yeah, and all you're doing now, Empress, make sure that you do the fiduciary document saying that the name that you're issuing from your sovereign state, you can do whatever you want with that one.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the
All right.
beneficiary. That's the beneficiary who should be receiving the check.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
And that then gives them the proper answer to what they're saying. They're saying as long as you're receiving benefits from them, you're not receiving benefits from them. They're interlopers.
Okay.
They're fakes and frauds, and they're getting a peanut butter sandwich every month because nobody has leaned them and got their butts out of the way.
Okay.
So that has to be done. And again, always demonstrate at the level of your overstanding and just, we have to do this and then let the ancestors do the rest. I'll say this about that because, Empress, I thought, well, you know, before I leaned the straw and terminated all corporate contracts and all of that, before I did all of that, I said to myself, okay, I know that what I'm doing is right, and whatever the outcome is, I knew the ancestors would take care of me. I knew they would, but I was thinking to myself, I hope that the benefits still come after I do these things, but if they don't, I know the ancestors are going to take care of me. And they've been coming like clockwork. Okay. After all the stuff we've done and put on the public record, they can't touch that. Because it's not being issued by a corporation, it's being issued by me, by us, by our sovereign state.
Okay.
Yeah. The living state can only issue credits and benefits. Corpses can take it. Corpses take benefits away. The living sovereign creditors give benefits and credit.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Thank
so
you.
Just take your time with it, Empress, and just let.
Pick and choose, he'll share the ball, but use that to his advantage, get defense on skates, gets back to making getting shots.
So,
handles the contact and puts it home.
Just one moment. There's a little bit of
Had a balanced score sheet as well.
Why'd you mute me? I want to talk to you.
Rebounded close. His eyes always up 4.
You're not going to talk today?
Okay. So, as we were stating, listen, when the all lowercase, just like you see on the screen, we've been talking about that, and they can't do anything with that. You cannot attach contracts to that. That's a spiritual thing. So even though, and this is key, even though there were contracts, driver's license, whatever else, address listed, all of that, the all lowercase didn't have anything at all attached to it. Nothing. So, Empress, you know, just let the Spirit lead you on how to demonstrate your sovereign status where, you know, benefits are concerned. The ancestors know better than anyone what we're facing, or what we think we're facing. So at the time that I did the demonstration, I just thought, we will see. And the ancestor said, okay, you got that part right. Now let's go on to the next test. So, are there any other questions or comments regarding that? I want to show you something else that I found to be very interesting. So, I wanted to show you the following. It's, there was let me see. On this one, this is the second, let me see, yeah, this is the first one, this is the second one on the screen. Let me just make sure you can see it there. Okay, yeah. So, very interesting. On this part, right down here, he was pointing to the entry for the empress that was with him. And interestingly, the empress that was with him did not have 3 persons attached to the paper, because it's not attached to her. But she didn't have in capitis diminutio maxima at all. She only had in capitis diminutio nullo. And no, they put no, like right here on the screen. Let me just pull this up a little bit closer. Right here, it says Shante in all lowercase letters, and then this is a part of her the last name, and it's in all lowercase letters. And there was nothing else. They went on with other parts of the report. There was no all caps anything at all. And she was not taken. And then even when he showed in the video, when they went a little clip from when she went to court and she was doing the talking, she got the case dismissed. She didn't have any contracts at all. All they had was the in capitis diminutio nullo. It's right there on the screen. And he pointed that out, that they only looked her up one time. As he said, they only looked her up one time. She didn't have any contracts with them. And was not touched, and you should have heard her. She was going in on them. And they didn't touch her. So we put ourselves in a particular place and status when we at least put the all lowercase in red in capitis diminutio nullo from our own sovereign state on the public record. There's a protection there. I'm telling you, there's a protection there. That means that we're not a part of their capitalism. Like we've been saying, and we don't run around going, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so. But in reality, we said that. and he proved it. He doesn't realize that that's what he's proving. But we see it because we know what we're looking at here, in terms of them not pulling anything else up, no contract, no driver's license, no address, no nothing on the public record. And She had Moorish plates on her conveyance. And I think it was his conveyance, actually. But you'll see when you look at the video, and again, we put the link to the video. We're just so honored that the demonstration that they're doing. The USAR is doing some great work there. I believe they're in, I'm not sure exactly which territory they're in, but we honor the work that they're doing because, and we also honor all Moors who are demonstrating and putting their demonstrations on the public record so we can use them as a teaching tool. Not a teaching tool, a sharing tool. So we can share what we see in the interactions so we can further free ourselves. So I'm just elated that he put the information out there on the public record so we could look at it and see, you know, what the ancestors are telling us about how to keep ourselves free, you know. So again, emphasis specifically because again, you know, we're not taking anything away from our sons. This is the matriarchal age. And we must take our rightful place so that the protection of the whole earth is manifested properly. It's that time. Mother protects everyone in her womb first. She is the very first protector of all life that comes from her womb, and then we create all the other life outside of our womb. So it's that time. With that being said, are there any other questions or comments about in capitis diminutio? Nolo?
Islam.
Islam.
Orlando Bay, Kyrie, Trinidad Territory. I opened my mail, one of my mails from the insurance company tonight, and they're asking me to bring in an ID for them, and also they have a form that they would like me to fill out as to establish who I am. So I plan to do my fiduciary document and also my appellation and all of that, and clip it onto the form that they give to me, and let them do whatever they have to do. I know who I am.
And we are sending all of the positive energy and the highest honors to you for that demonstration. We already know it's going to be in the favor of the Moors, which is you.
Islam.
We know that. We know that. We're not even blinking about that. We know it. Yeah.
Islam.
Yeah. We got this, Moors. We got this. They keep proving that we got it. All we have to do is be willing to look at what we're doing with a critical, constructively critical eye and fine-tune the things that need to be fine-tuned. So one last thing. Are there any other questions? Because I see quite a few of the lines have opened up.
Islam,
nobility.
Gregory Tariq Bay, North Carolina Territory. How do you get them not to send strawman instruments to your house? Like a bill of particular.
And leaning and all of that. Lean. And then the fiduciary document says that anything in all capital letters and all of that, it is automatically a credit to your vast estate. So they can send it, it's a credit, but you have to say that it's a credit.
Okay, now, do I send it to the person that sent it to me?
You send it to whoever is claiming to be the head of that office, because it's an office. So this is how you would state that. Office of the head magistrate or office of the CEO, and then underneath that you would put the last name first and the first name last of the ones in that, the custodians in the office. Because, see, the custodians are just waiting for the real CEOs and judges and justices and clerks and magistrates to show up. That's us. We're here. So when you speak to them, you say, office of whomever, whatever office it is that's sending the thing, and then you address the custodian, first name last and last name first. And custodians do not have titles. They're custodians. So that's how you get them to know that a bill of particulars is really a credit to the estate. And either they can go ahead and credit the estate because it's really just, see, we credit the estate and then we say, hold on for just a moment. There's a little bit of feedback coming from a couple of places. I'm just going to mute one or two of the lines so that we can get the information out. We tell those officers what to do because it's our office, really. So if you want them not to send it, discharge it, send some delarium for it, and an affidavit, and the fiduciary document, and tell them what to do from your court, your Article 3 court. And what you do is you send it to whoever sent it to you, and you also send it to any lower court that has anything to do with it. Along with the fiduciary document. And that's going to put...
Now, now with the delarium, when you print it, does it print both sides?
If you print it on both sides.
Is anybody paying for their gas with delarium? You buying gas with delarium?
Hold on.
How's things going?
So, go ahead, Nobility. Yeah, with the delarium, if you print it a certain way, it will print however you print it.
Okay.
I had to do front and back and
where's Pauline Peacekeepers these days? Where's Pauline?
I had to work through going back and forth, putting the delarium through the machine a couple of times and everything. And here's something that I noticed, that when it's time for me to print delarium, they print perfectly. If the ancestors want me to print them, they print perfectly. And when they said print delarium, and I printed it, I had no problems with it going through the machine. It took a little effort at first. I actually had to show that I had the desire to print it. Once I showed them that I had the desire to print the delarium, then it's been a piece of cake ever since. You know, so just keep trying to get it proper, you know, to get it right. I removed all the margins and then fed it through, and then turned it over and fed it, and removed all the margins on the other side and put it on the other side of the paper and fed it through, and it printed like magic on both sides, front and back.
Okay, with the 7 locations, do they notify the rest of them?
Do you tell them to do that by saying notice the agent is notice the principal and notice the principal is notice the agent?
I don't recall telling them that.
I would tell them that. That's on the bottom of all of our affidavits that go out. Notice the agent is notice the principal. Notice the principal is notice the agent.
But I could do that with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I did it with Trump when he was in office. So I could do that all over again with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and add the fiduciary document, the larium, and all that kind of stuff too as well, right?
Because really that's your office. So you would say office of the president, which is your office. And then underneath that you would put Biden, comma, Joe, if you think he's the president. And you know, last name first and first name last, because he's really just a custodian. He and Trump both are custodians right now.
And you said the office, the taxation office. Who would I call that? Office of what?
Office of Tax and Revenue.
Of Tax and Revenue. Okay. All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Islam nobility. Thank you for your demonstration. Islam Empress.
Did you say something about there being a place that you could go down to your county and have the money stamped?
I did. The county superior courts. Now, I don't know if it's like this in all. Well, they don't call it this in all the territories. In some territories, they just call it the county court. But in all of them, you should be able to go in and say, where do we stamp our documents? Because if landlords go in there, those that were previously doing business as landlords, they would go in and they would say, where can I go to stamp this document? Because they would print eviction notices and all of that. That stuff doesn't come from a court. It comes from their computer at home. And then they take it to the county court, and they say, hey, where do we? Usually it's in the clerk's office, and they say, well, where can I stamp these documents? And the stamp is usually sitting right out there in the open, on a counter. And usually all you need to do is look around, and you'll see it sitting right out there, a stamp with nobody there, or it'll be a line of people there waiting to stamp documents. And you just go and you stamp it. Because, see, they know that the people are the real judges.
Okay.
I did that in 4 county courts here. And I'm calling them courts because they've all been liens. And then we say, okay, now we can let this inferior court witness our Article 3 documents. So that our documents must be Article 3 documents coming from the highest court in the land, which is us. And then we have the lower courts witness the documents. And sometimes when you go in, you'll have someone wanting to go to war, and they'll say something like, well, did you file it with us? Because that says filed. And all you have to say is, it's been filed previously. And you don't really have to even answer the question, but if you feel that you must answer the question, you say it's been filed previously. And then you say, what is your name? And as you're stamping your document, do you understand that no United States corporation, company, citizen has persona jurisdiction over the moors? And you're just stamping away. I've done it. I had to do it.
Okay.
They can throw some energy your way, but if you don't take the energy, oh well, they're stuck with it.
Well, yeah,
it can be a little, they'll test. But go ahead, nobility.
Concerning my mortgage now, I haven't been answering their phone calls and stuff. Now they're putting tags on my door. You know, they just walk up and put a tag on my door today that said it was urgent that I call them.
Well, Empress, that's the thing about being hesitant to do the liens and things like that. The things that we've been telling more. You have to do this. If you don't do this, they're going to act in corporate status like they have some authority.
Okay. I understand. Thank you.
And you know, this is the thing with the Moors that I'm hoping, and I'm just gonna keep putting energy on this part. Some people say, well, I haven't learned this process or that process. I haven't done, and I'll just use lien because that's the one I hear the most often. Is, well, I gave them affidavits, but I didn't do a lien on them. Well, if you haven't taken the time to learn the lien process, then what they're going to do, because it just keeps happening to Moors who don't lien them, is they will then put a lien on the straw. And they'll say, okay, if you don't want to lien us, we'll lien you. Mm-hmm. And we know you think this is you because you're scared to lien a corpse off of us. All that is the subject saying, please lien this corporate fiction off of me, please, because I can't lien it off myself, so that I can serve as a subject and not act in corporate status. That's really what they're saying.
Okay. Okay, I get it.
They want you to lien that corporate monster off their back. They want you to. All because right. It's taxing them. It's taxing them. It's making them do things that they don't want to do to the people of the land. Mm-hmm. Because they risk judgment by doing that, but either you prove that you're their master, or we sit back and try to be nice, and them corporations continue pretending to be their master.
Okay.
So we capitalize the way that we do, and we lien and all of that, so that everybody gets in their rightful place. Everybody has to get in their rightful place. Okay. And whenever I see more hesitant to lien, I know that they still don't understand that whole capitalism piece. They still don't quite understand it, because you're thinking that they're going to get mad and retaliate, but they're coming anyway, as you can see. See, you hesitated to lien them, and I'm not saying it's your fault, but I just want to point this out, that even when you hesitate to lien them, they come quicker then.
Okay.
Islam Empress?
Because they're tired of that. Yes, Islam nobility.
Islam. Islam.
I believe Justice Morley, I believe that was Justice Morley.
Yes, Islam. Thank you for that talk about the lien. I'm thinking maybe just for the sake of those who are not too sure about what the lien process is, maybe a quick demonstration might help. And also, sure. I've been asked in the UK, where we put out the treaties, right? And what we've been getting back, I've been hearing a few people actually saying that the treaties for America does not apply to the UK. I know it does, but I'm also wondering, are there any treaties between Britain or the United Kingdom and Morocco?
Yes. There is the Treaty of Paris, 1763.
Great. So any demonstrations that we use over here, I'll pull that up and I'll include that treaty. Can you repeat it again for us one more time?
It's the Treaty of Paris, 1763.
Great. Thank you. Islam.
And I'll say this about people who say that the treaties that we use don't apply to you all. Well, what the heck were they doing in Canada?
Excuse me, Sister, I think it's 1783. Check that out for me, Justice Frank L.
Okay. Thank you. If it is, thank you so much. Let me check that out. Let's see. Treaty of Paris. There's one in 1763 and 1783. Here it is right here. Let me see this. Yeah, there's two. There's one in 1763, and let me just take a look. 1783. Yes, 1783. You're correct, nobility.
Thank you, Judge.
The Treaty of Paris 17, and it's actually one is a continuation of the other. The one in 1783 specifically states British representatives, though. So yes, you're correct. Thank you for that, nobility.
Thank you.
Okay. So yes, Justice Morley, Treaty of Paris 1783.
As well.
And here's what needs to be done with that treaty, nobility. The treaty needs to be put in red and all lowercase letters on the public record so that the sovereigns are speaking to sovereigns. And when I say sovereigns, the original British are you all, Moors. You're speaking one to the other British nations.
Islam. And shall I attach all the, you know, the headers, the flags, and all the press, etc. I'll attach that with it as well. Great.
Yes. Yes. It needs to be done the way that I put, the way that we put the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, the Treaty for Peace and Friendship, 1786 and 1836 on the record. It's in red and all lowercase letters, done by court action on Moorish government letterhead.
Great.
So it's done just like all of the other documents, because each one of those treaties is court action. They're done from court, not just randomly, you know, a group. It's done by court action.
Islam says like Siska
Ideal.
Islam says like Siska QV Trust 1666 canon law, and that's what we was talking about, the you know, the birth certificate and how they did it. You know, trust. It's trust. The trust 1666. Prior to the Paris Treaty. Okay, Justice Frank Ill.
Yes, Islam. Thank you, Justice Frank. Appreciate your wisdom, Islam. So, I want to point out one other thing back with regard to this in capitis diminution nolo that was done. The in capitis diminution nolo pretending to represent the Empress on that piece was only ran once and only in capitis diminution nolo. This is important. This means that there are three separate and distinct persons in the system, and they have clearly listed the contracts that each person has in their records. We need to ask ourselves, how is it that two persons that are supposed to be one person has the exact same contract while the in capitis diminution nolo has no contract? We need to ponder that and look at that. And just kind of do a little bit of study on that piece right there. Okay. Islam, nobility.
I would say about that is that they're talking about the Holy Trinity, 1 and 3, as their text with their Bible and their laws with their Bible of commerce in the Queen's Chapter chamber. That's why they use all three dimensions or definitions of your name, because it's what we call the Holy Trinity, all three in one.
Yes.
So that's why they use it. So the low cases, they can't do anything with low cases because it's either kind of living, but kind of more corporation size, so they can't do nothing because it's not capitalized, it's not incorporated, or it's not capitalism, so there's no commerce on that. They can't make any money on that, so that's why they don't deal with it. It's all about commerce in the Queen's Chapter chamber, because the judge is just the banker or the trustee for the Queen. So when we go to court, we're going to a bank, we're doing economics, we're not doing law. So most courts is about economics, not law. So if you understand, when we put the name in capital, you see our last name, Aline or Costa, is marked about business. And cross above and cross below, you see the coordinates on sea, on the sea level. So it's amity and marine law. Because on top of the casing, they got the coordinates, the degrees, and then the number where the case is located, how far in the sea, and the location in the marine and the amity law that they carry. So that's all within their court system. So it's all about commerce. They can only go so far within the court system. Permission to yield.
Uh-oh, y'all, they did it again. Y'all talking too much. They don't want you to know this. But anyway, she'll be back. Diminution nolo is the highest status, minimum, medium, maximum. But the highest status is status, nolo. You can't touch it. Minimum, that's the first name, the rest lowercase. Medium, last name first, first name, whatever last. Maximum, that's war, y'all. That's all. She'll be back.
She's a liar and a cheat. You people are getting so much trouble.
You're already there. You can speak this funny.
Islam. Islam.
I think that was
You know, we are really we've crossed the finish line, okay? We have absolutely crossed the finish line. It's a wrap.
We're becoming competent now.
Am I hearing you correctly, Nobility, when you said that they're doing commerce and not law?
Yes,
yeah. I hear that.
Yeah, they're doing commerce and not law because within the jury system, there's no justice. It's only about money. So everything they do is create a contract, and they call a promissory note, and you sign it from the time you start from the police station till you come to the courthouse, till you go to jail, whatever solution they decide. There's a bond created between the police and to the courts, and even to the judgment of the plaintiff. Right? So all that is third-party interloper, a third-party interloper, and also it's also a part of the Queen's Chapter Chamber and the Council of Interest of the law, where everyone is having a portion of money taken from your estate by using your name to create a promissory note to be fund, to make money for the system, the corporation. So when you're being arrested, the policeman benefit from it, the courthouse benefit from it, and then the judgment of the plaintiff also benefit from it. The only one that suffers it. So it's not justification, it's economics. So courthouse is never about law. It's just about the Queen's Chapter Chamber with economics, corporation status, to make money. Everything is being bond or a promissory note is being created from every document within your name. Because you and your name is the only body, your name or your so-called contract, your slave contract within the system is the only way they can benefit off of the capitalism that they use, because within it called capitalism because they gain capital from it. It's economics, it's part of accounting, bookkeeping. You have a capital to start a project. So everyone is being used as capitalism but also as capital, promissory notes. That's the law. And it's the marine and amity law. They can only go so far in the sea, and they have no ties to the land because it's only about amity and marine law. And plus, there's no captain, so how they can even practice law before the captain. The Queen's Chapter Chamber, the Queen's time is up, the Queen's Jubilee is up, so there's no more courts flies by halfway because there's no more withstanding law. laws that so everything's fraudulent. 2014 final jubilee by the Pope, and the Secretary was given by Omar's rights and all deals to land to the original people. So we know that in this time that it's fraudulent. Everything they do is fraudulent. It's nothing is real. It's all fiction. Permission to use for
Islam. Thank you, nobility. So, what you're saying is true if we allow corporations to pretend to be a court.
Yeah.
Then it's not about law. It's only about commerce, because that's what corporations do. They do commerce.
Yes.
So you're absolutely right about that. However, and there's no however. You're right about that. Period. Now, where does the remedy come in for the Moors? Is we're the court. It's our money, because we are the only ones with real money. There's no real money outside of what we do, what we produce, and what we originate. And we cannot allow that to continue, because we are the law. So now, how do we, when we're talking about capitalism, how do we return the law back to the courts and make it so that capitalism is honorable? How do we do that? This is how we do it. On the screen, I have put two here, right here in black, I have Pauline Denise Ritchie, right? And it's in these death brackets. And then here, I have Pauline Denise Ritchie, and it's in blue, and there are no death brackets. What is the difference between these two? The difference is this.
Okay.
This one right here, this is capitalism, this black one that's dead, is capitalism by a corpse or a corporation, because a corpse can only birth other corpses. Okay? So that's what they did here. So what did I do? I leaned this one. I decapitated it. Decapitation means removal from office. I did that by court action because it was not issued by me, by our sovereign state. Okay? And then I sent it off to Guantanamo Bay, which just essentially just means it cannot operate any longer. So now with that one gone, by our sovereign court said this is a dead corpse, it's a debtor, and it cannot operate because the living has said it can't operate. So boom, that one disappears, and now what do we put in its place?
Economics.
We put, hold on just a moment, because you're right, but I want to add just a little bit of tweaking to, a little bit more clarity, not tweaking, but clarity to what you're saying, so that those who are listening can hear both of us, okay? And so I put the sovereign state, the Empire State of Morocco, put Pauline Denise Ritchie in blue and in all capital letters. And now I can use this to do whatever I need to do, such as convey benefit, and in particular, let me just point this out, because I need to point out something. I need to point out something that just one moment. I'm going to point something out to you about the use of this. We just went over this on Sunday, but we'll go over it again. Okay, so now here on the screen, the Empire State has put Pauline Denise Ritchie We've issued our own conveyance method. So now this conveyance method, Pauline Denise Ritchie, is living because it is birthed and originated from a living state. What can we do with this? We can look at Title 4, entitled parties, and this is from the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. And what do? It says, an action must be prosecuted in the name of the real party in interest. The following may sue in their own names without joining the person for whose benefit the action is brought. So who can sue? An executor, an administrator, a guardian, a bailee. That's someone who bails someone out. A trustee of an express trust. Not a corporate trust, but an express trust. A party with whom or in whose name a contract has been made for another's benefit. G, a party authorized by statute. And then you look down here a little further. Here, let me pull up the rest of this. Because this is why we have to do it where the fiduciary is doing the talking for this minor person. Because this right here, Pauline Denise Ritchie, is a minor. It's a corporation, actually. But it's a living corpus sanctum created by the Empire State of Morocco. Fiduciary. Now, here, this is the other part. This is Rule 17. And there's some things about joinder there as well that we can look at if you want to. Rule 18 says this. Look here at 18C. A minor or incompetent person with a representative. The following representatives may sue or defend on behalf of a minor or an incompetent person. A general guardian, a committee, a conservator, or a like fiduciary. A like fiduciary, this is where the Moors have been getting stuck. We cannot be the authorized representative of something dead. Okay? And then people have been trying to be the fiduciary for a dead thing, but saying that they're Moors, but they're the fiduciary or the authorized representative for a court. This says you can't do that. That it has to be a like fiduciary. And then Rule 17 is saying that there must be a substitution. It says here in Part 3, joinder of the real party in interest, the court may not dismiss an action for failure to prosecute in the name of the real party in interest until, after an objection, a reasonable time has been allowed for the real party in interest to ratify, join, or be substituted into the action. Okay, it says after ratification, joinder, or substitution, the action proceeds as if it had been originally commenced by the real party in interest. What is this saying? This is saying that when Pauline Denise Ritchie, this one created by the sovereign state, is substituted in to anything that that dead one was trying to do, then they have to acknowledge nationality. And this automatically brings credit to us. Do you see what I'm saying there? So, yes, it's commerce, but we have to bring equity into the court. And equity can only be brought into the court first if we're doing what we're doing from our own Article 3 court, and then we're putting that down onto the inferior court and saying, you need to enforce this. You will enforce this. Not you need to, but you will enforce this. So we substitute. This is the substitution. Let me just show you one more time because this is really important, okay? Because this is going to give all Moors remedy for the things they've been going through. Those lower courts have been using a dead entity that they created in order to violate you. So you have to put this debtor where it belongs, which is in a grave. You decapitate the zombie, because that's what it is. It's a zombie corporation. So you lien it by court action, and then you do a court action on it that says you go to Guantanamo Bay and all of your commerce has been terminated. So that's what we say in our court actions, nobility. We say, we place the Universal Commercial Code 1 lien on you, and all of your commerce is terminated. That means no commerce can be done with this dead thing. And then our sovereign fiduciary document puts the real living Pauline Denise Ritchie item or instrument, because this is still not me, this is an instrument. It puts the real corporation, the living corpus sanctum, in place of this dead one. And now corporations have a nationality. Did you know that? Did you know that every corporation has a nationality? I had to see it in writing to even know that. So let's look that up real quick. I'm just going to show you really quickly. It says a company's nationality can be defined in many ways. By incorporation papers, ownership shares, location of facilities and employment, etc., etc., etc. Okay? Corporations have a nationality based on who it is that created the corporation.
Will you talk to me?
That
Probably
is
not.
why
I think you're out of your mind and you're hurting people.
The facility, just one moment. Just one moment. Okay. Let's keep going because this is important, and, you know, let me put this on the screen so you can see what we looked up. So what I did was I went to Google and I put in corporations have a nationality. And you can look up all of this. Here, the nationality of international corporations under civil law and treaty. We can look at that one too. The nationality of international corporations under civil law. These are books and documents. There's also, let's see. And again, this is not something anyone can't just Google and look up that corporations have a nationality. And let me just put on the screen what I'm looking at. Oh, you can see it good. The nationality of international corporations under civil law and treaty. Okay, so the nationality of the corporation depends on who created it. Do corpses have a nationality? No, they do not. And that's been the problem. The United States Corporation Company does not have a nationality. They are but not the dead one, because there's even, that has been hypothecated too. There is a living United States Corporation Company that we hired that is subject to us. And that corporation has, for all intents and purposes, a nationality. Their nationality is Moorish subject ipso jure, according to the 1954 Citizenship and Expatriation Act. Moorish subject ipso jure. That is their nationality. Because if nationality can't be determined, then the nationality is automatically Moorish subject ipso jure. And that's earthwide. So yes, UK, this applies to you all too. And that's why that's called nationalizing resources. Because have you heard of people like Hugo Chavez and Fidel Castro and Gaddafi. They were trying to nationalize resources. They were trying to nationalize natural resources, gold and silver and water and land and all of that. They were trying to nationalize all of that, but they couldn't because it's not theirs. It belongs to the Moors here. And when I say here, the Moors in UK, that means you too. Moors at the islands, that means you too. And when I say here, I'm saying on the land. Here is the land. The land is, it doesn't matter how much water is in between our lands, land is land is land is land. The estate belongs to the Moors, and the estate is the whole earth. So this is what we're doing when we lien the dead corpse, and then we put the living subject corpse on corporation, on corpus sanctum, rather. Let me make sure I use the right language. Corpus sanctum on our fiduciary document. So let me just show you the fiduciary document really quickly so that you can see how we've done that for just some companies. Let's see, some companies in this territory. That's not the document that we want. We want this document. Okay. I just love us and all that's happening with us. So let me just show you a couple of examples of this. And why we do it this way. Okay, it may take a little while to get the pictures up, but we'll go ahead with the document. Okay. Let's look at the fiduciary document. So this is the fiduciary document. And what are we saying in this document? First, we're saying here we are the fiduciaries for all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. Specifically, we're the fiduciary for all fonts, monochrome or otherwise, and all contract agreements, treaties, constitutions, and all other documents, regardless of the resulting sensation that the eye manifests. What are we saying? We're saying no matter what color it is, the lettering is, no matter what style it is, whether it be capital letters, lowercase letters, and capital initial, minimum, medium, maxima, etc., that we are the fiduciary for all that is produced by the sovereign state, which is the Empire State of Morocco. And then we say that the Empire State and the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government have placed the Universal Commercial Code 1 lien on the United States Corporation Company, the Federal Reserve, and all agents, principals, heirs, and assigns, and any derivatives thereof. And then down here, we put all of those instruments, because these are all instruments. A name is an instrument. A name is really something that we use, an instrument, to convey credit, either to give credit or to receive credit. Okay. When our sovereign-born mothers appellationed us the day we crowned the Stargate, the appellation that she spoke was a sovereign-born appellation. In my case, she said, God named her creation. Okay. And that is the case with all Moors. Our mothers, who are God, let's just get it straight, named her creation. She said, and it doesn't matter who named you. The fact that you crossed the sovereign stargate was enough. Okay? And that's directed towards those who have been maybe adopted, or your grandmother named you, or your father named you. You crossed the stargate of God. Okay? And in the beginning, God created and then named. Okay? So that's all that we're doing here. These on the screen, Pauline Denise Ritchie, and all agents, principles, heirs, assigns, and any and all derivatives thereof in black monochrome font and in all fonts, tones, and styles, to include this one in capitis diminutio minima and this one in capitis diminutio maxima. Like to Jure Bay, same thing. United States of America, same thing. And then we come on down and we've added some companies, Amazon Fresh, and all agents, principles, heirs, assigns, and all derivatives thereof, in all fonts, tones, and styles. And see, right now, in this territory, they're doing business this way so that we can protect them. So is this one, Verizon. So is this one, Target. They've all changed everything to all lowercase letters on their buildings here in this territory. And so what are we doing? Going ahead and claiming and naming the estate. We've liened everyone, and we just name and claim it. And then we start doing things like beginning to notify them about Delarium and getting them acquainted with the fact that that's coming soon, that their acceptance of that is already on the public record. It's already accepted by them by the mere fact that they're sitting there on our land. That is automatic acceptance of anything that we say that is lawful where the Constitution is concerned. And we said gold and silver coin. And when you look up the word coin, coin and sovereign mean it's the same thing. So where these corporations are concerned, we just lean them out of the way and then present the real living corpus sanctum that is the subject to the Moors. And that goes for courts and all of that too. Okay? And so that is why we're doing things the way that we're doing them with regard to name substitution in court actions. We're putting the real names of these corpus sanctums to include those corpus sanctums as created by the sovereign state that look like we're speaking to ourselves, it seems like. But again, here, so when you see Pauline Denise Ritchie in blue, you know, and it's not in brackets, then you know this is a living corpus sanctum. And anytime you see it with these dead brackets that look like the ends of a casket, because that's really what it is, then you know that we're talking about something dead that was created by a dead fiction. And that we're sending this thing, we sent this thing on away. We did a court action. We sentenced it. Sentencing indicates that words are being used in order to determine the fate of whoever it is we're sentencing. Because again, sentencing just indicates that we're casting another spell. We're using words to do so. That's why they call it a sentence. Okay? And so now we can substitute, because see, the corpses, when we did our demonstrations, POW demonstrations, where we went into the POW camp and set ourselves free, they were trying to say that they wanted us to say that that was us when that's not us. So we had to prove that this is not us. And how did we do that? We did not respond to anything that had this on it as created by them. And then when we set ourselves free, we came out and said, okay, that means that we have to rebut this one with the real one. Like we do everything else. We've rebutted Federal Reserve debt notes with Delarian. That's the real money. We've rebutted fake courts with Moorish American Consular Court. That's the real court. We've rebutted their forms with our sovereign affidavit. We've rebutted the banner of amity and commerce with the real flag. Okay? And so this is where now, Moors, we have changed these lower courts, these fake corporate courts, we changed them to courts of equity because of this right here and our fiduciary documents. So if you want to get relief from things that happened to you in the past in fake court, you lien that court, you lien the fake, this fake dead thing that they created where they send you paperwork. Because one of the questions tonight was, how do you stop them from sending, you know, fraudulent stuff? This is how. They are not talking to you when they use these fake instruments in black ink and capital letters as created by them. They're not talking to us. But we have to prove that they're not talking to us by presenting who they should be talking to. Because ultimately, corporations can only talk to corporations. That's why we do this. Because it's a corpus sanctum, except it's living and it has sovereign authority as a corporation over a dead corporation, like a fake court. Okay, so then this can be used as a way to get whatever, for example, where mortgages are concerned, that this changes a mortgage from a debt to a credit. But you got to lien this dead one, or else this dead one is going to keep acting like it's the creditor. And then the mortgage company, you got to lien the mortgage company and then present the real living pledge. Because then it's not a dead pledge, it's a living pledge, and you can use that as a resource. Then it's not a dead pledge anymore. It becomes a credit to the creditor. Because that's what they were supposed to be in the first place. It was supposed to be a statement that shows you that your estate has grown by this much. And that with each property that you collect, your estate, your own personal estate, is growing by that much. That's why they call it equity and lines of credit and all of that. Because your estate was growing. It's supposed to grow when you buy a domicile. And it's not buying it. All it is a sovereign exchange. But all of it has to be lawful and properly stated from the beginning. Properly stated. And if you don't lien it, it's not properly stated. Because there's a dead state trying to claim it. The living state has to stand and say, this doesn't belong to you. In fact, you're a debtor. Let's prove that you're a debtor. And then the Moors put them in debt. And then the living state says, no, this is a credit to the heirs estate. Estate and state, same word. Okay. That was a bit of a long-winded response, but I want to be sure that you understand what's really happening when we lien and then the fiduciary document steps in. Then we can claim benefits with the proper conveyance method. It says it right here. And even here, without a representative, it talks about how if you don't have a if that instrument doesn't have a representative, that one is appointed. And that's what they've been doing, is saying that that dead thing that this dead thing created by the United States Corporation Company is unrepresented. That's what they were saying. And then they said, okay, I guess we'll have to assign an attorney. And then all they did was collect the debt for their debtor estate and make you think that you owe them something. Okay? So with that being said, hopefully that answers the issue with both mortgages, and we'll keep putting that out there in as many different ways as we can put it out there where capitalism is concerned. Nobility, thank you for what you were saying about capitalism being commerce. It absolutely is. However, the law should be equitably tributed in the favor of the creditor. Because, yes, all law is commerce. But we have to state who we really are on the public record using our own capitalism and not theirs. We must be like fiduciaries. And I'll tell you really quickly one other thing about fiduciaries. Let me see.
Okay. Islam says later, I want to mention something. The color now. Blue is the average heat. That's the water. We got that. We purple. That's definitely the airspace. We got that. And it doesn't matter what monochrome. It don't matter about what color, because as long as we got the allegiance to the Empire State of Morocco, the worldwide flag. What do you think? A little bit.
Yes. 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 Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see. I want to show you one last thing about fiduciaries, because this is something that we, CFR. Okay, so
Mainly fiduciary, we are one. We're the Empire State of Morocco. We all Empire State.
Yes, Islam, indeed, indeed. So, let's see. If you look up CFR, fiduciary, I believe it's 12 CFR. Yeah, this is it. 12 CFR, Chapter 2. Okay. In the Code for Federal Regulations, in Chapter 12, it talks about fiduciaries, and it states that the board, the Federal Reserve Board, and I believe the Treasury, they only operate by way of a fiduciary. They only can operate through a fiduciary. Well, why did I bring that up? Because he talked about law being commerce. Now you're talking about money. And in order for Moors to get the relief that they seek, first, their state must substitute in the correct name, and it's actually an invligus, which is a creation for the state, and into any action that has happened in the past, so that your nationality takes front and center where that action took place. So if you got pulled over and thrown in jail by way of a fraudulent nom de jure war name created by the United States Corporation Company, this CFR and the fiduciary document, this Federal Rule of Civil Procedure is what I'm referring to right now. This Federal Rule of Civil Procedure and the fiduciary document will make it so that you can get the remedy and the relief that you seek. Because now what you will be saying is they had the wrong person, and that you told, and even if you didn't say that you were a Moor at the time, see, the action has to continue. It has to continue until the right person speaks up, until there is an objection. And that's the real objection here. Okay? The real party in interest is the proper fiduciary stating that the all caps invligus has a nationality and is not stateless. So that then that's going to stop everything right there, because all court actions start with proper identification of the parties. They didn't properly identify you. But this is nunc pro tunc, which means now for then. And notice to agent was always notice to principal, and notice to principal is notice to agent. So now anything that has happened in the past, for example, the demonstration that I did a year ago in the POW, I know that I have to do it. I got to go back and substitute in the real party in interest. Well, what happens then? That means that, first of all, you had the wrong person. And the person that you had has a nationality. I proved that. I proved that. And so now what happens? Our court says, okay, you must make the person whole. Then you're talking about bank accounts and things like that, because the all caps name is on bank accounts. And there's where your commerce and your restitution and all of that comes in. They had to let me go because they didn't have the right person on their documents. I'm not a person. I'm the living. I proved that. But I'm the fiduciary of a person, several persons, a lot of persons. And so are you. So with that being said, I won't go any further with that, because we've already been here for quite a bit of time.
One second. Just like CFR, Civil Federal Rule, and the Uniform Commercial Code. What is it? Is that a delegation of authority? Do we authority that to them? Is that when they follow the tree? Is that their idea? Is they admitting the truth, or what's going on with that? That's it.
They're admitting the truth, but we have to state it. We can't let them state it. We have to state it. So if you're going to use this Federal Rule of Civil Procedure, you need to rewrite it in red, or in blue rather. I'm sorry, in blue. And you can write it just like it is here, but just put it in blue and then quote it and put it in your document and say this is what we're going by. And the purpose of rewriting the things that we rewrite, which is everything, is to properly state it. In other words, adopt it into our state. And then have it originate here, back where it started.
Just like then it sounds like to me that we are the originators, natives of all that stuff then. They just...
Yes, anytime you use the word treaty, yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, they are not party to a treaty. Some subjects? No, they're not party to a treaty.
Child, I'll wait a year, child. Ooh, that's deep.
Yeah. Yeah, they, you know. So all they did was take everything that we wrote and they put it in a stateless format, and all we have to do is state it properly and put it on the public record and use it to get the benefits that are due from our own vast estate. So we're not taking anything from anybody. We're just getting what's rightfully ours. And I'm going to do that sometime soon. We've been so busy with state business. And in the coming weeks, we're going to be putting forth our state constitution so that we can ratify it, vote on it, and ratify it properly. It's a bit lengthy, so you'll have it in advance of ratification of it. And then we'll proceed, and if you see any changes that need to be made to it, we can make the changes and then agree to ratify it onto the public record. Hopefully we want to have that. I want to at least have a copy to you by the...
Sister Light, wow, it's a wrap. I yield. Justice Frank. Uh-oh, y'all. It happened again. The boy, they just can't take that. But we love them, too. They are subject. You the sovereign. You not a citizen. You sovereign. That's a judiciary, the eye opener.
Okay, so over the next few weeks, we hope to have the state constitution, because you know we have the Zodiac Constitution, which is our ecclesiastical constitution. We have that on the public record. We also have the Constitution for the United States, which is the international, it's our federal constitution, okay? And then we have to have a state constitution, okay? And so we'll be putting the state constitution on the public record as well, and it's a bit lengthy. But to give you an example of what it's going to look like, for our state constitution, and I'll just give you this heads up really quickly, if you want to see what it's basically going to be saying, if you'll go to the Constitution for Washington State, okay, and it's on Google. Go to the Constitution for Washington State, and I knew this in my spirit I've known this for a while, but when I started reading the Constitution for the state of Washington, I see why Microsoft and all of these companies came here to start their businesses, because it talks about capitalism in the Constitution. And it talks about how business is to be done, and all of it is from a republic form of government. So it's a long Constitution, but we're working our way through it right now, putting it in blue, because there are going to be some, the instruments that we use will be instruments that have it'll be instruments in capitis diminutio minima and in capitis diminutio maxima, just like what we just showed you. We'll be using those instruments in our state, and so we have to know how that's done and make sure that that no one else can capitalize our instruments. Those are ours. They belong to the state. And that way, that's where property comes in at, because it's the state and the Secretary for Sovereign State that is the guardian of all property. So we're working our way to, one step at a time, to the proper claiming of domiciles and conveyances and all of that, okay? So that's what we're working on right now. We started on it last week at the unction and the urging of the ancestors and the ancestral energy. They said, okay, you've peeled these layers. The federal layer is peeled. The ecclesiastical layer is peeled with the Zodiac Constitution. And the state layer has to be, we've done a great job with the fiduciary document and all of those, and our proclamation for statehood on the public record as approved by the heirs. And so, and then, of course, with our money and all of that, we've made a lot of progress, and we can see the results of that progress in our daily demonstrations. We do need to get the state constitution put on the public record next. And then after that comes a lot of really good things. And I think that everyone knows that those things are coming, because we know it's by statehood that the things that we see in this dimension are properly claimed. So we're excited about that. Working through it's a long constitution. It's actually like 90-something pages, but we're going to bring it all the way down to its original articles, and then we will add amendments as we go. We'll vote on the amendments and add them as we go, assuming that, and I'm not even assuming it, if it's approved by you all of us, by all of us. I will tell you that in looking at it, it works in our favor, because it has a allodial tint to it. And then anything feudal, we're pulling that stuff out and making sure that it says what it's supposed to say. So with that being said, are there any other questions or comments? I know we've gone a little bit long today.
Islam.
Islam, Empress.
Islam?
Yes, Empress.
Greetings. Are you saying a state constitution just for Washington State? I yield. I'm confused.
So, Washington, let me just explain. The answer to the question is no. It's not just for Washington State. The reason that we chose that one is because we were led to it by the ancestors, number one, because I would have never looked at it, because I thought we were set with, the constitutions, the two that we have. But knowing that our ancestors work in threes, the ancestors had us to just continue looking at the statehood process. And as we were looking at the statehood process and speaking with some of the other governments, we were led to start looking at having a state constitution as well, because there are actually 4 parts to what we're doing. There's the universal part, which is the Moorish divine and national movement of the world, or the earth. Okay, so that's earth-wide. And then there's the federal, which all of the states are under. Okay, generally, all the states are under the federal, you know, which is the Moorish National Republic federal government. And then there's the state. And the state, first of all, the empire state is everywhere. It's earth-wide, too. It's wherever the Moors are. But the state itself is another layer. And then there's always the temple part, which is the ecclesiastical part, which is the Zodiac Constitution. Because as we know, we are the de jure Moorish Holy Temple of Science. That's why we look at this Holy Quran and use it as a trust document. And that's why we also quote our Prophet Noble Drew Ali with regard to we are also the old Canaanite temple that he started, because it was unincorporated by any foreign entity. And the old Canaanite temple, I've seen the actual building. It's still there. The original old Canaanite temple building, and it's not where you think it would be. It's not even in, I don't think it's even in Illinois. Okay. And then the state has to have a constitution. And when I say the state, this is what I'm starting to see. I'm glad you asked the question, Empress. What I'm seeing is that Washington, D.C. is a hypothecation or a subrogation of ancient Washington District for Queen Columbia. We know that, I know that's a fact because I've seen it on maps and things like that. And we've shown that in past videos. Queen Columbia is another name for, or another appellation
Haven't you
for
shut up by
the
now,
territory and the land. Is for the land. Even when you speak to the foreign, the modern Europeans, they know that America is the land of Queen Columbia. They all say that. I've heard them say that. So I know there's some hypothecation in there somewhere. In the research that I've done, this Washington here, this territory, not Washington political boundary state corporation, but this territory, which encompasses Oregon and Khalifa territory too, by the way, all the way down to Mexico, is actually Columbia territory. It's Washington District for Ancient Columbia, all the way up to what they call British Columbia up there. So our state constitution, I know it will apply to this land for municipal purposes. But if you look at the documents that we put on the public record, we stated that this Washington territory is the seat of government at Morocco. The seat, because every landmass has a seat of government. That other one over there on the east, because remember, our prophet said that east would be west and west would be east. This is actually the real east. And I know that people probably don't believe that, but it's the truth. It's the truth. Even in the records here, it's the truth. And so this Washington territory is the seat of government, and that's why that's why I was led to look at their constitution. And as I began to look through the constitution, it talks about everything that has to do with proper governance on the land. I would have never guessed that. And the beauty of that also is that in the past, one of the Moors brought over an original copy, a handwritten, and it's a copy, a handwritten copy of the Washington State Constitution with a blue signature down here at the bottom and a black signature beneath that. The blue signature is for Washington State. The black signature is for the state of Washington Corporation. So the state of Washington Corporation adopted the republic form of this document. And now we're adopting it as well, but not really adopting it, we're putting it back where it came from because it originated with the Moors here. And when you come here, if you go to downtown Olympia, you can see Moorish stuff everywhere, but like you can everywhere on our land. But here they have, murals of Moors from the 1800s who had businesses and buildings down here, And the jurisdiction here was never incorporated the way that the East Coast was, where they claimed the 13 colonies. Over here, they never made it this far. So this jurisdiction here is what it needed to be. All it took was just a little pushing on our part to uncover the real jurisdiction here. But that's the same way it is everywhere. I can't even treat that like it's special because it's not. So this Constitution is a state constitution, but our state is a land. It's all land for those who want it to be there. But if where you are has a constitution, and they all do, I would say look at it, and if you feel led to adopt it, rewrite it, put it in blue, in capitis diminutio minima, and put it on the public record so that you are governing that territory known as a state. Now, not the corporation, but it's still a state. See, that whole 50 state thing, our ancestors put that in place, and it is not a bunch of corporations either. It's more. The corporations took it, or actually they didn't take it. They just pretended to hypothecate and subrogate it, but our ancestors did that. Because even if you look back at old state boundaries, they're not anything like these political boundaries that you see. For example, I grew up in Alabama, even though I was born at Michigama territory. Well, Alabama, back in the day, was actually Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia put together. That was the real Alabama, and that was the Alabama Moors. And then the Mississippi part of it was the Washita Moors, which meant that there were Washita Moors in Alabama and Georgia too. So I'm also Washita by bloodline and birthright. My mother was born at Fort Deposit, which is a banking situation. That one, we'll go into that some other day because you would not believe what we found out about that and about Fort Deposit, Alabama, and why it's called Fort Deposit, where my mother was born. So anyway, yeah. So look at the state constitutions where you are, and if you feel led to do it, rewrite it and put it on the public record. We felt led to do it because we know that that's another part of the onion for this territory, not just this territory, though it's for any Moors who assent to that. Because as we know, there really aren't any boundaries on our land. So just like the documents that we put on the public record that have the King County stamp and the Thurston County stamp and the Snohomish County stamp on them, Moors over in Florida territory can use them if they want to use them, and they're valid because those are land documents and they emanate from our court and not those inferior courts. They just have the inferior court stamps on them because those are witnesses stating that what we say is true. So for the Moors who want that to be their constitution, yes. I'm really just going by what the ancestors are leading us to do so that we cover all of our bases where the land is concerned. And it's turning out to just be a gold mine of, if you could only see what I found out even this week about the state. The state, and when I say the state, I already know that it's in preparation for what we're doing, and we know we're the state. But the state here has all of a sudden, just in the last 6 to 8 months, scooped up so much property, all the hotels, except a few of the high end, from the north of Seattle, all the way down to Olympia. The state just started snatching up hotels after hotel after hotel after hotel after hotel. And no one's in them, and they haven't done anything with them. They just blocked them off for the time being. Well, the ancestors told me what that was all about. They're saying that it's for homeless people. Well, we know what that's about. Because we've also, again, when we started looking into, and this is something we talked about last week, we started looking into appropriation. We see how everything is going to be appropriated. And that's why we're being led to make sure that we have our everything in a row where state appropriation is concerned. And this Constitution is one of those pieces. Because, again, the state is claiming all property. And that is absolutely correct when you talk about the living state. And that's why the Secretary of State was the one that was claiming, or the one that was doing business as Secretary of State was claiming all property. But all property really belongs to the sovereign living state. We just have to be prepared and have all of our documents and everything in a row where statehood is concerned. And we've done a great job of that so far. You can see the documents that are on the public record, and the Moors have been putting the Empire State of Morocco on their documents, so the resources and the source of the resources is already in alignment. This Constitution is another piece of that puzzle, because we're going straight for making sure every Moor has a roof over their head comfortably. That's why we're doing the things that we're doing. So those hotels, I know, I went by one of them and talked to one of the security guards this past week. And she was saying, yeah, she said, it's been almost like, it's been like this for almost a year, where it's just waiting for something to happen. And we know what that something is. The state needs finance. And we are the source of that finance. But again, we have to have states have a constitution and a way that they do things. And then states begin to appropriate at the proper level. So we've already met that United States Corporation Company piece with the sovereign United States and the Moorish National Republic federal government. That rebutted the United States Corporation Company, the things that they do. And so now we've already rebutted the Catholic Church and the Vatican piece with the ecclesiastical Zodiac Constitution and the Temple of the Moon and the Sun and the Moorish Holy Temple of Science and the Moorish Science Temple of America unincorporated. And I think that's, and we have one other one. Oh, the old Canaanite temple. So we're all of those temples because our body is the real temple. Okay, so we've rebutted 3 levels so far, and this Constitution is that 4th one, because we have to get more to a place where we can work together to move into the offices that rightfully belong to us. Because we've been telling you that the offices, office of Secretary of State, office of the governor, office of the clerk of court, those offices those are our offices. We got some custodians in there right now, but we actually have to get into place to start operating from there. Office of the head magistrate, office of the secretary, all of those, that's all ours. So we put the secretary for sovereign state documents and sovereign governor and sovereign law enforcement and police, and we've put all of those documents on the public record, currency controller and all of that. So our state is coming together and coming together and coming together and coming together. And now we're putting another piece in place so that when we present on the public record our appropriations, when we present our state on the public record, that appropriations come the way they should. Okay, and appropriations is nothing more than access to the treasury. And again, we've even put that piece in place because we know we're the treasury. Okay. Same thing for the UK. You all, the documents that we put on the public record, you have them all. I'm so grateful for Justice Consul and Justice Morley, because you all are sticking close and putting the same thing, because you're governing there, And so those documents need to be put on the public record. And then if there's a constitution, a state constitution over there that you just want to look at, only if you're led to do it now, because again, all the things that we're doing is all part and parcel. Everyone is part and parcel of all that we do.
Islam. Yes.
So we can do this one and then give it to you, and you can adopt it for over there.
Yeah, Islam. Yeah, we
yes.
have been, Justice Consul and myself have.
Did they cut you off, Nobility? Islam? We can't hear you if you're speaking.
I think they cut him off. It's getting too close. I did got a question, though. Got cut off real quick.
Yeah.
This is important to me, though. Now, I know about the Zodiac. I know about this Constitution 4, but what I'm gathering, the Constitution, I never heard of this one, but I assume the pregenitor Constitution is the Empire State of Morocco, and I thought we had it already. I thought the 4, the United States, and I thought the Empire State of was 4, so, you know what I'm saying? The progenitor Constitution, that's us, everybody waiting on us to wake up and help the whole planet, that's what I mean, Constitution. State Constitution, so wow, again, progenitor Constitution, which is the mother and father of all nations, the worldwide flag Constitution. I thought we had it already. I thought 4 and I thought that was it. So you shoot something new on me, but I'm listening. I yield.
Yeah, there are layers to and degrees to governing. There's a reason why they started with 13 colonies, and then that became supposedly 50 states. And before you know it, there was some entity over them called a federal government. And then before you know it, they're part of the United Nations, and that has a constitution. And each layer has a constitution, including the Universal Postal Union has a universal constitution. So any nation, state, government, organization, etc., has to have a governing document, and it is generally called a constitution. So this is not even the last time that that a governing document will be presented. It just depends on the nature of the document or the nature of the group or nation or state that's coming together and what they agree on will be their governing document. Because Justice Consul and them talked about the treaty between Britain and the United States. We actually have to do that treaty and put it before the people. And that is not something that can't be done by the people who attend this call. Because we have enough. They have 2 witnesses over there, Justice Moore and Justice Consul. And then we have, and some of the Moors on this call can witness for them. And then the other Moors on this call can witness for us. And then we'll say, okay, we've done it. We have a deal here. Governing does not require 50 million people because it just doesn't. It requires people who have governing in their heart, that want to govern. And then we revisit as our group gets bigger and we start coming together and more nations start waking up, we revisit the documents that we've done already. Yeah. So with that being said, we have been at this for quite a while. The time flies by so quickly. Justice Morley, I don't know what happened to him. He was right in the middle of his question. But we will adjourn here and pick right back up most likely on Sunday. Okay, we'll keep you posted on Sunday meeting. Most likely we'll have it though, because we've been led to have it the last few weeks. So we just want to make sure that we save room and energy to get the other things done that are being done offline.
I know what happened to him.
With that being said,
you tan him up. That's what happened to him. You tan him up.
Actually, you know, he's that's, you know, Justice Morley is. I think that the lines have these lines have been, you know, they've been a little more. Maybe the energy is shutting them down every now and then. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. We just call back and keep going.
All I say is, you go, girl. You go, girl.
Yeah. So, with that being stated, we will go ahead and adjourn here. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Islam.
Islam.
Islam. Grand rising.
Grand rising. Islam. Islam. Thank you for coming, and thank you for staying for so long. Thank you for staying for so long. Islam.
Grand rising.
Grand rising.
Islam.
Let there be light.
Use the praise Allah, sister light, the light of the world.